hppodcraft.com.
We are back at the H.P. Lovecraft Literary Podcast. I'm Chad Pfeiffer.
And I'm Chris Lackey, and we're at www.hppodcraft.com. I forgot what you...
No. We're at http://www.hppodcraft.com.
Are you done?
I'm done with that, although we are not done with the story we're covering today.
Heck no!
The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath.
I'm glad we're back, because Carter has been snatched up by night gaunts.
That's right. He scaled the mountain of Granic so he could behold the face of the gods. He studied that face. He says, I know who that belongs to. I can see those the faces that look like that in the ports of Celiphae, so I got to get back there. And if I can find those people that look like this face, then I'll know I'm close to the gods. And if I know I'm close to the gods, then I can find the gods and I can ask him where that beautiful city is that I was dreaming about that I can no longer see. That's what's going on.
Yeah, wow. That's really, you just summed it up. Good job.
But he's been snatched up by night gaunts. They are cold and they're silent and they tickle him and they fly him up into the mountain, don't they?
Yeah. He goes into a deep, dark, scary, stinky cavern.
Yeah. Ooh.
And they fly him down. They fly him down deep and dark, and it seems like he's flying for a long time and going deeper and deeper, and fly him down into this huge dark place.
Yeah, he recognizes the peaks of Thok, the fabled peaks of Thok as they're flying. So there's mountain ranges inside this mountain, which is crazy.
Which blows my mind.
Yeah, and those dark valleys, they drop him off. He says valleys where the bulls crawl.
Right. Yeah. It's called the Vale of Nath. It's spelled Pnath, which I believe is pronounced Nath.
That's where the bulls are, the Vale of Nath.
Uh-huh.
Have they always been bulls? I thought when I heard about these things before they were called doles.
At this point, they're called bulls, but later on, when Lovecraft writes with Price through the Gates of the Silver Key, he talks about he changes it to doles.
Oh, so it's just a change that he made.
Yeah. I don't know why he changed doles to bulls, but there you go.
Well, the bulls, as they are in this story, is like much as I could tell, just huge, gigantic, wormy things that live under all these bones, and they kind of surf around, and you just don't want one of them to touch you or see you or anything.
Yeah, they kind of hunt with sound, sort of like the movie Tremors.
I love Tremors, man.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
That's the greatest movie. Well, the night gaunts drop him off all alone on this big piles of bones.
Tons and tons of bones.
Yeah, they're everywhere, and it's the Vale of Nath where the bulls burrow, and the night gaunts take off. There was a great sentence about the night gaunts in an earlier paragraph where it said, all they ever did was clutch and fly and tickle. That was the way of night gaunts. I love that.
That's great.
I love that. Well, he recognizes this because of all the bones. He says, oh, all right, this is the ghouls of the waking world. This is where they cast their bones, their refuse of their meals.
Yeah, of the things that they've eaten.
Yeah, so he thinks, well, if I can kind of figure out where the shower of bones is, sort of where the dropping off point is, I can holler up to the ghouls, and hopefully they'll drop me a ladder.
Right.
So he knows ghouls. In fact, It says,
a man he had known in Boston, a painter of strange pictures with a secret studio in an ancient and unhallowed alley near a graveyard, had actually made friends with the ghouls and had taught him to understand the simpler part of their disgusting meeping and glibbering. This man had vanished at last, and Carter was not sure but that he might find him now, and use for the first time in dreamland that faraway English of his dim waking life. In any case, he felt he could persuade a ghoul to guide him out of Pnath, and it would be better to meet a ghoul which one can see than a vole which one cannot see.
Wow. So he knows Pickman.
Pickman, yeah. We got another recurring character here.
Yeah. But Pickman, since he spent all that time with the ghouls, he actually became a ghoul. And if you remember in that story, they said that Pickman was kind of changing. He started looking a little bit more monstrous. So this is kind of the end result of Pickman.
I didn't know that Pickman was in the story. I think somebody mentioned that there were ghouls in the story, but I didn't know actually, or maybe I knew that, but I didn't know he played such a prominent part. I thought maybe it was just a reference or something.
Yeah, no, he's a big character in the story.
So Carter runs to figure out where the skulls and bones are coming from, and he actually gets struck by a skull. So he figures out it's coming from up there.
Yeah, he goes to this cliff and he starts meeping and doing ghoul talk.
Yeah, once a ghoul talk. Are you ready for some ghoul talk? Call 900. This is yet another part where Carter knows a foreign language and has some Yeah. Meep, 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 meep. And he screams up there. And there's a really tense moment as he waits for a ladder, because I think some ghouls respond to it.
Yeah, well, a ladder, yeah, so you hear some meeping, but also by him making that noise, it's attracting attention of the bull.
Yeah, so it's kind of scary because he's
Yeah.
like waiting for them to lower this rope ladder so he can get out of there, but he hears the bulls moving around. And he actually, when the ladder finally drops, he jumps on it, he starts climbing. It takes him hours
To get
to
up.
climb up this ladder. And as he's going, the bull is getting closer and closer and closer, and finally he gets up to the ghouls. And of course, when he sees them, he almost faints because ghouls they're not pretty to look at.
No. If you remember the descriptions from Pickman's model, they're sort of moss and fungi covered, and they look sort of like dogs. And they
have dog faces, and they're rubbery and naked.
hooven feet, and they're just altogether nasty.
But, he gets his composure together. Obviously, this bull's going to get him if he doesn't go up fast enough. The ghouls pull him up, and they're on this sort of plane of it's sort of like a graveyard world.
Which is sort of a parallel from the Earth graveyards, and then sort of enter into the Dreamland graveyards. And Carter, even at this point, notices that he's really close to being awake. He's closer to the waking world now.
Well, he tells him, hey, I'm friends with Pickman. Can you guys guide me to him? And one of the ghouls says, yeah, I can help you out. But, we have to go through all of these different passages and crawl. And it's like a trip that takes many hours. When I was reading that, I just imagined, how lame is that? He's got to be crawling through these little tunnels with a ghoul and just staring at a ghoul's ass for hours. What a terrible, terrible trip.
And they probably don't smell very good either.
Eventually, they emerge on this other plane, and he sees his buddy.
There, on a tombstone of 1768, stolen from the Granary Burying Ground in Boston, sat the ghoul, which was once the artist Richard Upton Pickman. It was naked, rubbery, and had acquired so much of the ghoulish physiognomy that its human origin was already obscure, but it still remembered a little English, and was able to converse with Carter in grunts and monosyllables, helped out now and then by the glibbering of ghouls.
So he talks to him, and he says, You're Pickman, you're my buddy, you remember me, everything's great, it's cool, I need some help.
Yeah.
He goes, I need to get back to the Enchanted Woods from here.
Because I need to get to Celiphae, and I got totally thrown off course. I went up to this mountain, I saw this face, I know that I need to get to Celiphae now. But, the Nikons grabbed me and dumped me down there, and I'm all turned around now, so I need to get back to the Enchanted Woods.
Yeah, and then Pickman says, well, you should just kind of go back up the stairs and start over again. Go to the waking world. You can go through this churchyard, and it'll take you to the waking world, and then you should start your quest all over again.
But Carter doesn't want to do that because he's afraid that if he wakes up, he's going to forget everything that he's already learned.
Yeah.
So he wants to stay in the
dream world.
In the dream world. So Pickman says, well, the best way to do that is you got to go through the kingdom of the Gugs.
The Gugs, hairy and gigantic, once reared stone circles in that wood and made strange sacrifices to the other gods, and the crawling chaos Nyarlathotep, until one night an abomination of theirs reached the ears of Earth's gods, and they were banished to caverns below. Only a great trapdoor of stone with an iron ring connects the abyss of the Earth ghouls with the Enchanted Wood, and this the Gugs are afraid to open because of a curse.
So that passage between the woods and the kingdom of the Gugs, we actually saw earlier. Carter passed it when he was being trailed by the Zoogs at the beginning of his journey. I don't know what the Gugs are. It's just something they sort of bring up.
And Carter doesn't really know exactly what the Gugs are either, but they're big and they're hairy and they're trouble.
Pickman says the best time for you to do this, if you want to go through when the Gugs are all asleep. Around nighttime, they all get sleepy, and I'll give you 3 ghouls to help you out in this little quest.
And also, you take a tombstone with you, and you can use it as a lever to pop open the stone door.
And probably the best thing for you to do, because Gugs are actually sort of afraid of ghouls. The best thing for you to do would be disguise yourself as a ghoul.
Yeah, so Carter says, okay, so he gets naked and he rolls around in the filth and the fungi. He takes all of his clothes and he puts them in a little bundle that he takes with him, so that his clothes don't get all yucky and ghoulish and stuff.
So it seems like a good plan. Dress up as a ghoul. Ghouls will go through while the Gugs are asleep, and they can get to that door, and he can get back out to the Enchanted Wood. But Pickman says there's another thing you got to worry about.
Ghasts.
There's ghasts. They're cannibals, these ghasts. They're some kind of creature. They are hunted by the Gugs. But sometimes they hang out by this large cave near the cemetery, and a whole bunch of them will attack a Gug and take him out. They're vindictive, these guys.
Yeah.
They don't like being hunted.
And they can also, these ghasts will also attack ghouls. So
yeah, they have no such fear of the ghouls. So the Gugs have a sentry at this place by the vaults of Zin, which is where the ghasts come out of.
Mm-hmm.
And that sentry sometimes gets attacked by a party of ghasts. It's just lots of things. There's ghouls and there's Gugs and there's ghasts. I guess if this damn story had chapter breaks, that would have been the title of this chapter.
It's pretty confusing. I mean, I know a lot what these things are from my time playing the role-playing game. Like, I'm really familiar, and I've seen drawings of all these different creatures and stuff. I don't know if anybody who didn't come to the table with that knowledge already would really be able to get a lot out of this.
Yeah, it's pretty confusing. But, as far as I can say, the Gugs are these big, gigantic things.
Mm-hmm.
The ghasts are their prey, who are smaller cannibal people, and then obviously our ghouls are our dog-faced folks. And they've kind of taken on a role of good guys or helpers in the story. Ghouls actually eat in the giant Gug city quite a bit. They'll sneak in there and steal bodies out of the Gug cemeteries because one big Gug is like food for a year for a community of ghouls.
And Carter he remembers seeing some gigantic bones in the big pile.
So they head off and they go to the city of the Gugs. Everything is gigantic there.
Cyclopean towers again.
And they get by the Vault of Zin and they see some eyes peering out, which are probably ghasts. And they say, it looks like the Gugs already lost a sentry.
After a moment, something about the size of a small horse hopped out into the gray twilight, and Carter turned sick at the aspect of that scabrous and unwholesome beast, whose face is so curiously human, despite the absence of a nose, a forehead, and other important particulars.
So that's what the ghasts look like.
Ugh.
And when that ghast emerges, a couple others come out of that vault, and they have no battle scars, meaning that they didn't actually attack a Gug sentry back there.
Yeah.
So that's no good because they're not going to be tired and easy to take out.
They're fresh. But then, luckily,
out of the cave behind them,
a Gug shows up.
It was a paw, fully 2.5 feet across and equipped with formidable talons. After it came another paw, and after that a great black furred arm to which both of the paws were attached by short forearms. Then 2 pink eyes shone, and the head of the awakened Gug sentry, large as a barrel, wobbled into view. The eyes jutted 2 inches from each side, shaded by bony protuberances, overgrown with coarse hairs. But the head was chiefly terrible because of the mouth. That mouth had great yellow fangs and ran from the top to the bottom of the head, opening vertically instead of horizontally.
So that Gug had been asleep and the ghast had just slipped by it, but now it's awake, and the ghasts are like,
the ghast attack.
Let's get it. So they fall on it, and there's a fight.
And while that fight goes on, the ghouls and say to Carter, we need to get moving.
Yeah, this would be a good time to scram. There's one thing that I found interesting there, where the Gugs, they actually are silent. Everything they do is completely silent. They speak with facial expressions.
Yeah, so bizarre.
They have that strange mouth that runs the length of their face, which is kind of horrific.
Yeah, it opens side to side, which I can't even picture what a skull would look like that would have a mouth that would open side to side, as opposed to up and down.
But it is scary that they're so quiet, these gigantic things. Anyway, as the ghouls and Carter take off, the fight kind of falls down into the cavern, so they're able to get away from it. They sneak through the city while the Gugs sleep, and they get to, what is it, a tower?
Yeah, it's the central tower, and it has a sign on it. They call it, the sign of Koth, which is, the ghouls say, hey, this is the way up to this tower to get to that passageway to get into the Enchanted Woods.
So they have to climb these. Now, the steps, of course, are these Gugs are so huge that the stairs are enormous.
So it's a hard climb for these guys, and it gets darker and darker.
Yeah, and Carter gets so weak from it that the ghouls have to sort of pick him up and carry him almost. They have to help him up these steps.
What a wimp.
Well, a ghast wanders down the stairs at one point.
And so they get really quiet.
And everybody has to fold to the side. That's
a really great paragraph. Or that, not just paragraph, that whole scene is really cool because the ghouls all are really quiet, and then the ghast sort of walks around, and they're just waiting underneath because it's up above them on the stairs above them. And then they're just waiting and waiting. They can hear it up there, but they don't know if it sees them. And then just one of the ghouls just leaps up with that tombstone and just bashes it.
Yeah! I love that the ghouls use tombstones. That's like their utility weapon, you know? They're using it to prop open doors. They use it to fight with. They sit on it, you know? They probably eat their meals on it.
Yeah, so yeah, he's dead. And as they get to the top, they find this kind of passageway, this door, and they have to use the tombstone and they start to pry it open, but then they hear something coming up the stairs.
Yeah, well, what they hear is the body of the ghast falling down the stairs.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't, the worst part is if a Gug came up those stairs,
they wouldn't
hear him.
No.
Yeah. But luckily that ghast body starts falling and they're like, okay, let's go. So everybody's pushing on that door trying to get it open so they can ram the tombstone in there and keep it propped so they can sneak out.
And they do. They get out and they close it down, they pull it out, and the Gugs, under some kind of curse, can't go through that doorway.
But they escape just as the Gug is ascending to get them.
Yeah.
They get through that door and they drop it. So there they are in the Enchanted Woods again. It's like we've come all the way back around to here.
Yeah. And I have to say that whole sequence was probably one of the best parts of the book for me, or of the story. Yeah. It was just the most well written. It seemed really dramatic, and I felt an actual sense of danger.
Yeah. It was pretty tense, and I thought it was a really good moment. It reminded me a little bit of the Mines of Moria or something like that from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, right, yeah. Or the part with when the hobbits were hiding and the ring wraith, walked right by them, in Fellowship, like it had sort of that kind of feel to it.
So the ghouls are kind of screwed now because their idea was that they were going to get Carter out through that passage, go back down through the city, and just head back to where they were with Pikmin. But now they're trapped up here in the Enchanted Woods.
Yeah, they can't go back because the Gug's down there, and they can't deal with them.
So the ghouls, they decide that the way that they're going to get back home is to return through Sarkomont. Nobody really knows how to get there. It has to do with the Plateau of Lang. I think it's under Lang, or
it's near Lang. And Carter can't go, well, maybe if you go to Dilathleen, I know there's this weird slant-eyed guy who seemed to know about a lot of stuff. You could probably find him, and he'll get you there.
So these ghouls, I mean, they're really screwed. They have to take a huge journey, not unlike his, where they have to find a missing city and all this business to get home.
Yeah, and
the worst part is that when they leave, Carter's kind of relieved to be rid of them.
Yeah, because they're really gross and disturbing to him. So he's like, thank God those guys are gone.
I know, but they totally have ruined their lives to help him out.
Really thankless.
And then at this moment too, Carter kind of thinks back and he says, "I wonder whatever happened to my zebra that I tied up on that mountain."
Right.
He just tied up his zebra there. The thing's probably starving to death on the mountain right now.
Well, he says hopefully maybe some lava dudes found it up there, or maybe a night gaunt drained its blood, and so it's dead, not starving to death. I don't know.
Right.
But that wasn't his fault. He got kidnapped by the night gaunts.
I know.
He couldn't do much about that.
He's just leaving a trail of broken ghoul dreams and zebra bodies behind him as he goes on his quest. Speaking of other creatures that have been hurt by Carter's intentions, he of course comes across a gang of Zoogs here now that he's back in the Enchanted Forest. And the Zoogs are pretty mad about what happened
at Ulthar.
Because they, those Zoogs that followed him, they got gobbled up by some cats.
So the Zoogs are planning on retaliation. So they say, we know where the cats are going to be, and we're going to jump them, and we're going to kill them. They're calling war on cats.
Yeah, they're planning it. They've got a council together. They're trying to figure out what's the best way to do this. We're going to take out those cats. And it said in that paragraph, the cats had justly punished the Zoogs for unsuitable intentions. What were their unsuitable intentions? Because as far as I know, they just like to watch stuff. They were just following Carter to see what happened so they could come home and share his story.
No, there was the one line where he says that one of the Zoogs was looking at the little black kitten. And
because they were going to eat the cat. That's their unsuitable intention.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems a little extreme to me, but...
These are some warlike folks here in the Dreamlands.
Yeah.
Well, Carter's not going to let this happen because he clearly loves the cats.
Yeah.
So he gets on the edge of the wood and he sends out a warning cry. And other cats pick up the cry, and it goes all the way up to Ulthar. And they get there really fast. They assemble their phalanx of feline soldiers.
Feline phalanx.
And they march, come back, and they run into Carter, all of these shapely, wholesome cats. And
he was glad to see his venerable friend, one-time rescuer, at the head of Ulthar's detachment. A collar of rank around his sleek neck, and whiskers bristling at a martial angle. Better still, as a sub-lieutenant in that army was a brisk young fellow who proved to be none other than the very little kitten at the inn, to whom Carter had given a saucer of rich cream on that long-vanished morning in Ulthar. He was a strapping and promising cat now, and purred as he shook hands with his friend. His grandfather said he was doing very well in the army, and that he might well expect a captaincy after one more campaign.
So cats not only talk, they have an organized military structure with
right. Well,
rankings and awards.
Yeah, they wear their ranks on their collars.
Yeah, it's flipping ridiculous.
Because cats are going to want to have collars on.
This is the lamest part. Why not have little uniforms with little patches on their shoulders and stuff? It's ridiculous.
I know that you think this is lame, man, but I was delighted that this was still going on. I thought that the cat battle on the moon was the last time I was going to see. I mean, it's so ridiculous. I could read this all day if they'd have just focused on cat armies doing cat stuff. Because my favorite thing is, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but they have a huge battle with the Zoogs here.
Mm-hmm.
After they're done and the cats are kind of like at ease, they go around and like chase leaves and do kinds of cat things, It's
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
So like they organize, they fight, they destroy, they make treaties, and then when they've got some time to kill, they chase leaves. Anyway, but I am jumping ahead. So Carter gets together with the army of cats, and they kind of plan their preemptive strike. They don't get into it too much, but all we know is a great ocean of cats floods the enchanted wood. They get to the tree. They beat the crap out of the Zoogs. These poor Zoogs, they were just in pre-production for this war. They didn't even know it was going to happen. Their flutterings arose to a panic pitch.
Yeah, the cats don't slaughter them, though. They get them, they capture them, and sort of, make them surrender, and then they go into negotiations with Carter being the interpreter because he speaks.
Yeah, Carter
Zoog.
brokers a settlement. He's like meow meow, meow meow, meow, and basically they negotiate the settlement where the Zoogs have to provide some free food for the cats.
Yeah,
some like tribute, a pheasant and this kind of thing, and then they also have to give up some hostages, I think.
Yeah, they take I think it's 12 of the young Zoogs of noble families are to be kept at the temple of the cats in Ulthar. Ridiculous. It's all just totally ridiculous.
All I know is that right now Carter's killed 2 zebras. He's lost some ghouls off into the dreamlands somewhere. He's been responsible for 2 wars now. The war on the moon with the cats and the Zoogs and this. I mean, he's really causing a lot of damage because he wants to see this pretty city.
So a dignified Maltese guides Carter to the city of Thrawn, where he gets a galleon ride.
Well, it's great because one of my favorite parts there is he gets to the golden spires of Thrawn, and he's stopped by this red-robed sentry and says, you have to tell 3 dreams beyond belief before we'll let you into the city. To which Carter says, I dreamed I had a job, I dreamed I had a girlfriend, I dreamed I don't live in my mother's basement. And the sentry says, go right in. Oh, that was mean. But, Carter probably doesn't have much going on in his life if he's spending all this time down here. But you're right. Yeah, he stays in a tavern in Thrawn, and then he grabs a green galleon for Cellophane the next morning, right. So we're on to Cellophane. Although, he stays in so many taverns in here, I was thinking, that's almost in every adventure story where they go to the tavern and they meet some folks and they stay there. Why don't we have... who's going to open... Somebody should open a chain of taverns.
What?
Somebody should open like a chain, like a hotel chain, but it's an oldie timey tavern, and you can go there and drink and meet adventurers, and then take a nap at night. I think that would be really cool. I mean, I've never had an adventure start at the day's inn.
Yeah,
I wish that there was just something.
Yeah, that would be nice. That they would have something like that. I mean, well, it's very common in the UK. Yeah, they have lots of. I mean, they have lots of adventurers and things and all the taverns and local pubs.
I know.
And things, yeah.
Well, you guys have history there. We don't have history in the United States. It's just holiday inns.
That's all there is. Yeah. Well, anyway, when he's on this boat. When Carter's on the boat, he's talking to the sailors, the mariners, and he goes, "Oh yeah, on Granik, I saw this face, and it looked like this." And then the mariners go, "Oh yeah, that sounds like the people of Inganik." And he goes, "Oh, Inganik?" And like, "Yeah, Inganik. It's this place. It's close to Lang." And he's like,
Yeah, he says those people are from Inganik, close to Lang, and Lang is on the other side of some mountains.
Yeah,
there.
It's far.
I think
it's far.
It may be fiction though. All they know is that the people of Inganik, it's really cold there. Cats don't like to go there.
No.
And there's these big mountains, and they think on the other side of those mountains, that's where Lang might be. Around here, though, they said the galleon that he's on, they sailed through the river past these jungles of Kled, where there are these big palaces that are protected by spells of the Elder Ones. And these palaces have been around forever, but they haven't decayed or anything because they're protected by these spells. But who are the Elder Ones? How does that fit in?
Yeah, I don't Really, no, it's not really addressed who the Elder Ones are, because there's the Great Ones, which are Earth's gods, then there are the other gods, which are like
Which is
Azathoth and Azeroth. But the Elder Ones?
I thought maybe it was a hint at kind of a Call of Cthulhu sort of mythology, because these palaces, they're kept unharmed and undecayed because they one day may need them again. So perhaps these are palaces that belong to
like Cthulhu.
The things, Cthulhu, or things that are dead and dreaming.
Right.
And that's what the deal is there, I think.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like that's a possibility, and that would make sense.
So the Elder Ones are like Cthulhu and the things that are on Earth but are not active necessarily.
It's not obvious what that is, but I mean, that's a good guess. It sounds interesting.
There's a couple paragraphs here too where they port in a place called Hlaneth, but the people are just like men, and Carter's like, who cares? I've seen this on Earth, and you know what? I don't really care either. So let's just get to Celiphae.
Yeah. So he gets into Celiphaeus, and he's looking for a cat.
And he's got time in Celiphae too, because he's got to wait 2 weeks for the folks from Inganok to show up with their boat, so he can go off to their land, where he thinks there's that desert. Some of the sailors say, he does meet one sailor though, who says, "Oh, I actually have been to Inganok. I worked in the onyx mines there, and there is a desert to the north, which may lead to Lang, and beyond which might be, or that desert itself might hold Kadath."
Right.
So he's getting closer. He's in Celiphae, talks to some sailors. He's waiting for the boat from Inganok. I think he talks to a priest at one point who gives him the same old, look, don't go on this voyage because it's really dangerous. He sees the chief of the cats. They do the secret paw shake. And the chief affirms, cats don't go to Inganok because it's too cold. And actually, there was something here I really liked. He says, it's got bad shadows.
Yeah.
And he says, in that far land, there broods a hint of outer space, which cats do not like.
Yeah.
It's got that hint of outer space.
Just a hint. A smidgen.
That sounds like a selling point to me, Here in Inganok, we got great schools, we got beautiful public spaces, a hint of outer space. I'm not going to find that anymore.
No, nowhere else. After that, he asks the cat, he goes, "Hey, I'm looking for my buddy, King Kuranes, and I'm going to go to the temple and see him." And the cat goes, "Oh, no, he's not at the temple. He's not, he doesn't live in a castle anymore." Because
Kuranes is he splits his time between being king of two kingdoms, Celiphaeus and Saranian, which floats around in the sky.
Right.
But he's retired all that.
Yeah, he's not into that anymore. He now lives in a place where he's sort of recreated where he's from, the Trevor Towers, which is in England. His little,
and is also my porn name, if you remember.
Oh, it is. Yeah, that's right. And I try to forget it, but I actually remember it. There's this Cornish fishing village that King Kuranes has recreated in the Dreamlands, and that's where he stays now.
For though Kuranes was a monarch in the land of dream, with all imagined pomps and marvels, splendors and beauties, ecstasies and delights, novelties and excitements at his command, he would gladly have resigned forever the whole of his power and luxury and freedom for one blessed day as a simple boy in that pure and quiet England, that ancient, beloved England, which had molded his being and of which he must always be immutably a part.
So he's recreated this, and this is the midpoint of the entire story when he meets Kuranes, and it's also basically a foreshadowing for what the conclusion of the story is going to be. It's almost like Kuranes has already gone through the journey that Carter's on.
Mm-hmm.
He decided that he'd rather be around his old hometown than in these magnificent dream palaces.
Well, right. I mean, if you remember in the Celiphaeus story, Kuranes ended up, he was always questing for this magical land. And, he wanted to be the king of Uth-Nargai and Celiphaeus. And he gave up his life. He died at the end of it so that he can go to this place. He made the ultimate sacrifice. And now we're finding out that was the wrong choice. That now he regrets doing that. This isn't what he wanted. He's become bored with it.
Yeah.
He tells that to Carter. Carter shows up at his house because he's, just staying at a house now at Trevor Towers. And he's good to see him. And he tells Kuranes about, what he's trying to do and about Kadath. And he goes, "Hey, you're the one guy that came back from space. Do you know where Kadath is?"
Yeah, that's we find out that the one person who was sane, who returned from those unknowable space reaches, sane, was Kuranes.
Yeah, and Kuranes is like, "No, I don't know where it is, and I don't know where your Sunset City that you're talking about. But I gotta warn you, you should probably not do this."
But now that he was come into that city and that land, and was the king thereof, he found the freedom and the vividness all too soon worn out and monotonous for want of linkage with anything firm in his feelings and memories. He was a king of Uth-Nargai, but found no meaning therein, and drooped always for the old familiar things of England that had shaped his youth. All his kingdom would he give for the sound of Cornish church bells over the downs, and all the 1,000 minarets of Celophaes for the steep homely roofs of the village near his home. So he told his guest that the unknown sunset city might not hold quite the content he sought, and that perhaps it had better remain a glorious and half-remembered dream.
Which is, some serious foreshadowing, and also kind of ties into a little bit of the Silver Key. When we were talking about how he always remembered that time when he was a boy and how that was special to him, and that unlocked this passageway to go.
Kurani says to him, you're going to want Kingsport. You're going to want Arkham.
Yeah.
You're going to search for the city, but those are the things that you're going to want. And Carter says, well, that may be true, but I'm not giving up.
And so he goes, okay, well, good luck, man. And that's where it ends.
Yeah, and I think that's a good place for us to stop for now. So exciting stuff. We're at the midpoint of the story.
Yep.
Carter's got another big voyage ahead of him. I think there'll be some night gaunts and maybe some other flying beings involved.
There might
maybe
be.
Some more wars. Maybe some more unintentional animal deaths. Who knows?
We can only hope. But I want to thank Lance again for reading for us. He did a fabulous job.
Lance Holt, thank you so much.
Yeah, he's great. With that, I'm Chris Lackey.
I'm Chad Pfeiffer.
And this has been the H.P. Lovecraft Literary Podcast.
Here at hppodcraft.com.
hppodcraft.com.